What is up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about a question that I get a lot. So if you're a gamer and you have around 300 bucks, which phone would you get? So I'm going to talk about just the phones that I have here that I think are really good for gaming. So let's go ahead and get started here. So I want to split this off into like two things. So you do have one route you can go with, the mid-range route, and then you have the old flagship route. So which one is going to be better for you? And the reason why I say that is because there are trade-offs with both, going with an older flagship or a newer mid-range, which we will talk about. All right, so let's talk about the pricing first. So with the iPhone SE 2020 here, as you can see, and it starts out at 313 bucks, and then for the POCO actually got a really nice price cut, $245 for the POCO X3 Pro, a very good gaming phone. I have gaming tests on all of these phones, so if you want to see like the actual gaming in more detail, just go ahead and check those out. And then the LG G8, you can go the G8 or the V50. They're about the same price now. I like the G8 because it's a little bit smaller. 200 bucks. So actually, if you go with an older flagship, you kind of can save a little bit more money here. You're saving 100 bucks there, and then you can go with the S10 or the S10e here, and the S10 is going for right now 250 bucks. So yeah, you get to save 50 bucks. So let's go ahead and talk about just each one individually first. So I still think the most powerful phone here is still the Apple iPhone SE 2020 with the Apple A13 chip, I believe. And this thing is blazing fast. It pretty much will blow through anything that you throw at it here. I mean, it does PUBG at such great settings here. As you can see, smooth, extreme FPS, all the way up to Ultra HD. This phone is great, but the one drawback with this phone is obviously it's small, it's a compact phone, but that's not really the problem. The problem is that the battery life for gaming on this phone isn't that great. So, you're going to be running to the charger with this thing, but if you're one of those people and you're like, okay, I'm an iPhone person, you're pretty much your only option really is the SE for 300 bucks, because if you want anything else, you're going to have to pay extra money. And those phones, those older flagship phones, they're most likely not going to be as powerful. The iPhone 10, the iPhone, even the XS Max, is not going to be as powerful as this phone, I believe. Other than the iPhone just having a great chip, one thing I like about it is the compact size. It's very rare that we get compact phones these days, but also the camera on here is just phenomenal. It's a really great camera. So anybody looking for a great camera to take pictures on, this phone does an excellent job here. And also video is really good. I think it has the best video out of all of these phones as well. You get some excellent stills with this phone. So overall, I guess the negatives with this phone is that yeah, it has an IPS display, which is just okay compared to like the older flagship phones with the Super AMOLED displays and OLED displays at 1440p higher resolution. This is like a 720p plus display. But the best thing about this phone is that it's gonna age these phones as far as software updates go. So software updates, this phone will be getting updates for years and years to come. So if you're an Apple person, highly recommend the iPhone SE 2020 here. All right, so the next phone would be the POCO X3 Pro, and again, 250 bucks, so very cheap. And also, it's got a really strong processor, the Snapdragon 860 on here with 6 or 8 gigs of RAM. And the thing that this phone has over the rest of these phones is that it's actually got a 120 hertz display. Now, the display is it's an IPS panel, so it doesn't get as bright and it's not as colorful as these phones. Even the iPhone display doesn't get as bright as even the SE's display. But the 120 hertz is super nice, and this is also another phone that is able to pretty much play any game you throw at it at high settings, no problem. And remember, 250 bucks for 120 hertz. You get a headphone jack. You also get excellent battery life. I think that's pretty important for gaming as well. It's just having that battery life. So this does have a 5160 milliamp battery, 33 watt charging, and you can see the gaming settings on here. You can also have that option to do Ultra HD, extreme FPS. You can play Fortnite, Call of Duty Mobile, pretty much anything. All these phones are capable of doing that, but this phone for the cheap, being able to do it at 120 hertz, you can take advantage of games that are also compatible with 120 hertz as well. So the POCO X3 Pro is definitely great. Like I said, the one drawback to this phone, I would say, is probably the display. It just doesn't get as bright. That's like my main issue with it. But overall, it's a fine display. It doesn't get, like, only when you take it out in the sun is it kind of a little difficult to see. But as far as gaming performance, it does a great job. It has excellent battery life. I'm not too crazy about the design. I think the design is just okay. I've never been too crazy about it. And also, I think out of cameras, I think this phone actually has the weakest cameras. Not bad by any means, but compared to the SE and these older flagships, I definitely think image quality is just not as good, even though it has a ton of cameras and stuff like that. I just don't think that you're going to get, you know, it's just not crazy. And also, one thing about this phone is I'm not super crazy about the MIUI software as well. It has, you know, a bit of bloatware to it. But you know, you can always throw a launcher on here or whatever, but still, yeah, so those are the only drawbacks with this phone. Otherwise, I think this is an extremely good deal because of the battery life, one, and then two, you get 120 hertz, also with a very strong processor on here. Now, the Galaxy S10 is probably the phone that I would go with because of the price point. And also, it's very close. It's pretty similar to the LG G8. But with the S10 here, this phone can play Fortnite at 60 FPS. And right now, they're going through some type of season things. But I'll show you right here on the screen. But this is the only phone that I was able to play 60 FPS with Fortnite on. So if you're like a big fan of that game, I'm not. But if you are, you do get that 60 FPS option, which I did not get on any of these phones. I have no clue if Fortnite's coming back to the iPhone as well. So I just don't know. I'm sure it'll come back eventually. But the S10 to me, the reason why I would pick it over the G8's display is because the G8 has a much bigger notch, and you do get like the punch hole. They're both 1440p, 1440p displays, and they both pretty much play the same. But like I said, this is the only phone that was able to play Fortnite at 60 FPS, and also it plays everything, you know, perfectly fine. And I think the order in battery life would actually be the POCO first, and then I would say the G8, and then the S10, and then the SE in terms of battery performance, just so you know. But yeah, so I really like the S10. This is probably the phone that I would go with because it's cheap. Not only is it cheap, you got great cameras, you got a very beautiful display on here, as well as a ton of bells and whistles, the latest version of Android with, you also have your bells and whistles like the Samsung desktop support. Your reverse wireless charging is on here as well, which I can't do. I'm at 15%. But you have all those little bells and whistles on here, and this is just a great phone. I think it's aged really well. Very powerful Snapdragon 855, 8 gigs of RAM, so it really doesn't miss a beat. So I really do like just this phone for anybody that's gaming on a budget here. Alright, last would be the LG G8N. It's in the same boat with the Galaxy S10 here, you know, being an older flagship phone. One of the unique things about the G8 is that you do have the quad DAC on this phone, which is awesome. So if you're somebody that you like, you know, to have your headphones on when you're gaming and stuff like that, you can take advantage of some high quality audio listening. As you can see, the same settings pretty much on the G8 here. We can even do Ultra HD, HDR Extreme on here. So you have a great display. You have pretty good speaker setup, great hardware. This is still a really great feeling phone, especially for people with compact or people who, you know, have smaller hands that want a more compact phone. So yeah, so I really like the LG G8, and again, it's the cheapest option out of the bunch here. So that is one thing. You are saving about, you know, $100 if you do decide to go with the G8. And the battery life is pretty good. I never had like a real issue with getting through a full day's battery life with this phone. And also image quality is pretty good on the G8 as well. So overall, it's a very solid phone here. So I really like all of these phones. Like I said, my favorite would still be just overall for this price point. It would probably still be the S10 because I think it just nails all of the areas. You get a ton of really great features. On top of that, you get Fortnite at 60 FPS, and on top of that, you get an excellent camera setup too on here. Very nice camera, very crystal clear photos with this phone. I really enjoy taking photos on here. It's just really nice, sharp. I think the display is great. So yeah, so the S10 will probably be my favorite pick on here, but also, you know, every option is good. If you're an iPhone user, the S10 or the SE 2020 is just extremely powerful. POCO does have that 120 hertz and the best battery life out of the bunch. You get a great audio experience with the LG G8. So honestly, can't go wrong with any of these devices. But let me know which one would you guys consider. Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.